What actually is the need here in San Francisco?
Well, the need is huge in the Bay Area. And one of the drivers for that, you might not find other places, is the cost of living. So a family in certain parts of the country can do okay at the poverty line, what the federal government estimates people need to live. But in high-cost areas like the whole San Francisco Bay Area, it's really impossible for families to live anywhere near what the official poverty line is. That means that all the nation's programs to help hungry people are really below what working families who still need help earn here, and they just don't have that assistance. So they oftentimes just turn to nonprofit organizations like ours for help.
What is the official poverty line for this year? Kind of know.
Well, the poverty line for a family of 3 is about $22,000. Yeah, and here we are in a city where it is pretty hard to find a place for less than $1,000 a month.
Absolutely.
And so if you're a family, imagine what that's like, trying to find a place that would house 2 parents and a child, for an example. It's very, very difficult. You got to buy a fast pass because you're a working family. You got to get to work. You've got electricity and power and utilities, and oftentimes food is what gets left over. And food is one of those things that you don't have to pay at the beginning of the month. You can pay off a little bit at a time, and oftentimes before the end of the paycheck comes, you've run out of food money.
How much has the need actually increased here over just the past couple of years?
Well, we've seen double-digit increases in both the last 2 years. The recession has both more people who didn't have jobs and turned to food banks, but we also seen a lot of underemployment, people who have lost their hours, people who really never had full-time jobs to begin with, but they had several part-time jobs, and then they see those hours just cut back, and all of a sudden a budget that barely worked or didn't work some months doesn't work in any months, so they're in our pantries week after week looking for some assistance.
I know some people have been saying, oh, the economy is actually coming back, it's on its upswing. Has that affected you guys at all yet? Have you seen anything begin to go on the rise?
Well, if you look at the last 24 months, the second 12 months, we saw a little slowing in growth. Still had growth, but it seemed to slow a little bit. So we're hoping that will continue. I think our clients, it's going to be what I think economists call sticky. Bringing those last few points of unemployment down is going to be very hard. Right now in San Francisco, we're just barely under 10%. 10% is a lot of people unemployed. Full employment, they say, is around 5%, but that's 5% of the workforce. We're out there looking for work. It's very, very tough.
What are your biggest challenges as the executive director of Food Bank?
Well, it's getting food. The food industry is changing. It's harder and harder to get dry food items donated, packaged food. Big companies have less inventory that they can donate to us. The bright spot is fresh produce. We're getting lots and lots of fresh produce. Over 2/3 of what we distribute is fresh produce, which is really great for families because that's one of the most expensive things in the grocery store, and one of the things that they oftentimes cut out of their budget when they're shopping with limited funds is they don't go to the produce aisle because the calories. You don't get so many calories. You get great nutrition, but not so many calories.
Last as long. So.
Yeah.
So what can people do to really engage and get more involved in what you guys are doing?
Well, there's a lot of different levels that people can be involved. People can be involved at the policy level, making sure that the food stamp program gets better and easier for people to access. They can talk to legislators about having wages that put people in a place where they actually can afford to eat. People can get involved with their local food bank. They can come in and they can volunteer. They can make donations. If they happen to work in the food industry or something like that, they can see how to get their employer involved in donating food that they can't use. Or maybe if they could use it, they'd be willing to donate. So there's lots of ways people can get involved.
A couple more. How much of an impact is the cost of gasoline right now have on your operations in distributing this food?
Well, it has a lot, although, the last 2 vehicles we purchased are hybrids.
Really?
So we're trying to stretch our fuel dollars by buying a little technology up front. So we're working on that.
Food bank receiving the hybrid trucks.
Yeah, we're working on that. And we hope someday to be the first food bank to have an all-electric truck. We think since San Francisco is such a compact area, we actually may be able to make that work. But the technology is not quite there yet.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. No, this is great.